Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Jackie, and this afternoon we're going to be looking at step 3 of the VAT return, which is completing and submitting the returns. These tend to be the sort of tidy up routines once you've done all of the reconciliation process. So slightly shorter session than yesterday, but it should last up to 30 minutes on today's session there. Just before we begin though, I will just go through the housekeeping. So first of all, you will notice that you have been placed on mute, and that just means that you can't speak to me today, but if you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to submit them using the questions panel. You can use the questions panel by accessing the icon that looks like a question mark within a speech bubble, and within there you can type in your questions across to me. I am on my own today, so if you do have any questions, just bear that in mind. I will try and get to them as soon as possible there for you. There is also a copy of today's slides, so if you want to take a copy of those slides, you can do so using the option that looks like a document with the folded corner, and that will give you a copy of those slides there. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is step 3 on the VAT return. So looking at VAT transfer journals, what they are, and we're going to go through two methods. We're going to show you the manual method of doing those and also the automated method of doing VAT transfer journals. We'll then move on to processing your bank payment or receipt, depending on whether it's money owed to or from ROS or HMRC. And also we'll actually look at the submission. Now this is the only part that really differs depending on whether you're in the UK or Ireland. So we're going to touch on both, and like I say, we'll explain both of those for you. With that in mind, if you do have any needs after today for some individual training, we do have one-to-one training available. So if you are interested in getting some one-to-one support, you can email the option at the bottom of the screen there for a personalised quote on receiving some training. Okay, so we're going to move on to the first topic for today, which is VAT transfer journals. But just before we do that, I'm just going to bring across one of my data sets for today, because I do just want to show you what I mean by step 3 first of all. So within the VAT return, when we pop into our most recent one here, which is the one that I've done for the last quarter of this year, you can see we've got steps 1, 2 and 3. Now, don't worry if you missed us yesterday. We did do a session yesterday where we went through steps 1 and 2. That session is available. A recording is available for you to watch back in your own time if you wish to do so. But we went through the stages of calculating the return and how you could look at those figures in more detail before reconciling. So today, we're literally just picking up on these 3 steps here. So that's what I mean when we're talking about step 3, is this part of the VAT return. Okay, so I'm just going to jump back to the slides there to talk about VAT transfer journals, which is the first one there. So a VAT transfer journal basically means at the end of each period, now that could be monthly, it could be quarterly, it may well be annually, depending on how often you submit. At the end of that period, what you should be doing is transferring the values from your sales and purchase tax control accounts across to the VAT liability account. And that should represent the money that is owed to or from HMRC or ROS. Payments can't be made directly to the sales and purchase tax control accounts because they are control accounts. So they do need to be transferred across into this VAT liability account, which by default is normally 2202. Now, if you don't post these journals, what starts to happen is you start to accumulate quite large values on these nominal codes. Now, it's not normally an issue, okay? When you do reporting, such as your balance sheet, these 3 nominal codes are normally grouped together under the chart of accounts. So if you were to run the report, it wouldn't look any different. But it's just more that if you're looking at your trial balance and looking at your individual nominal codes, over time, those nominal codes are maybe going to stand out because you just keep accumulating balances on them. So as we've stated there on the slide, it won't impact the reporting on the balance sheet as they're normally grouped together for reporting purposes, but it is good practice to get into the habit of doing it at each period to transfer those period balances across to your VAT liability, make the payment to or from HMRC or ROS, which would then clear down your liability. Now, what happens when you do that VAT transfer? So it's slightly different depending on whether you're in the UK or Ireland. So when you do a VAT transfer journal, you're looking at the sales tax box, which is box 1, total VAT on sales, and also the purchase tax, which is box 4, total VAT on purchases, and moving that onto the VAT liability. Slightly different in the Republic of Ireland because you do have slightly different boxes there. What you're looking at doing is moving for the sales tax the amount from the first box on the VAT return, which is the VAT charged on supplies of goods and services. And for your purchase tax, it depends on whether it's a payment or a reclaim. So if it's a reclaim, it would be T4 plus the VAT charged on supply of goods and services. Or if it's a payment due to ROS, it's going to be T2 or box T2, which is the VAT due on intra-EU acquisitions and postponed VAT. And that's the second box on the VAT return. So it's slightly different depending on where you're doing your return from. Now, there are two ways of doing this, okay? And there isn't a right or wrong way. You might be in the habit of doing these manually, and that is completely fine to continue to do so if that's what you're currently using. But I just want to show you both options so you can look at your sort of current processing and see where you can try and sort of save some time. So the first option is to do this via a journal entry. Okay, so you can go into nominal codes and enter a journal for those values that you take from your VAT return and post them across to the VAT liability. What you can also do is, if you're on professional, is you can memorize the journal. So all you need to do each period is change the date and some of the posting figures there. So let's have a quick look at that first. Just going to go into one of these data sets, and this is the most recent VAT return on this data set here. So what I just want to show you there is the sales tax amount and the purchase tax amount. So we are doing a UK return at the moment. So what we're looking at transferring is the totals from box 1 and box 4. Now do notice here how the value here is different. Okay, so box 1 is slightly different to what we've got over here. Okay, and that's because we've had an adjustment. So if you joined yesterday's session, you would have seen we did an adjustment to box 1, which you can quite clearly see there. So again, this shows you immediately where things could start to go wrong, because what we need to do is do the box 1 figure without the adjustment, because that's already been taken care of. So these values over here are the correct values. So it's 680 and 398.60. So already we've identified somewhere we could go wrong there. Now I'm just going to show you the manual way first. So what I could do is go into nominal codes, into journal entry, and begin to post my journal, bearing in mind that I'm going to have at least 3 sides to this journal. I need to start getting things like my debits and my credits the right way around, use the correct nominal codes, make sure the posting date's correct. So again, these all just open up little places where we can start to go wrong. Now, if you're on professional, you will have the option to memorize and recall. So I did do this just prior to the session. I'm going to do this because it does save me some time, and it's hard when you've got lots of pressure of people watching you trying to get a journal the right way around. So I'm just going to load this one up. So if you're on professional, you also have this feature. But basically what we'll be doing is looking at creating a journal similar to this. I just need to again change the date. So again, somewhere else that you could just miss And here you can see I've got one pair of journals for the sales, which is the 680, and a pair of journals for the purchases. So I can save that, and that does the transfer for me. And next time, because I've memorized it, I can recall that again and just pop in and change the date and the amounts depending on the VAT return. However, I'm not going to do it that way because I am going to show you the easiest way, and that is to use it in the VAT return. And the reason I like this one so much is because it removes the chance of accidental error. So I'm just going to pop back into here. I'm just going to refresh the screen because it doesn't seem to be updating there. So I'm just going to check there. I think that's updated there. So what we can do, rather than doing that manually, is click this option here to post journal. Now, if I click this, that's it done. Okay, so look at the difference between the two processes. What it also does is it marks it as paid in here, transferred in here, which is great because it means I can now keep a track of what I have and haven't done from this window. So if I close out of here, what you'll see when we look at this VAT return is in the VAT transferred column, we have the Y to say yes. That means next time I come in, I can have a look and I can be like, okay, I've done the transfer. I need to move on to submitting and posting that payment. Now I do just want to show you two additional data sets. So this is my demonstration that we're working on today, but I just do want to show you two comparisons here. So I'm going to bring this one up first. And this is an example of a data set where we've done 4 returns. Okay, so we've actually only done the transfers for 3 of these. So if you can see them, we've got VAT transferred only in 1 of them. Okay. When we look at those nominal codes, and we look at the VAT side of things, which I'll just highlight there, you can see we've got some balances on there. Now, they're not huge because this is a tiny data set, and we've also only been running this for a year. But if I compare that to the same data set where that has cleared, just bring this up now, which is this one here. This is exactly the same data set where we have done the transfers on all of those returns. You can see that my VAT liability has actually gone back to 0. My purchase control account has also gone back to 0. Now that is rare, okay? I would expect balances always to be on your sales and purchase tax control accounts because they're cumulative. They sort of never stop working. They're constantly being updated as you're processing. But ultimately, your VAT liability should come back to 0 or near enough 0 if you're paying in full each time. So just have a look at that VAT return. You can see they're all transferred. So you can see the difference there between nominal codes that have had the transfers done and those that haven't. So that's the point we're trying to get across there. Okay, so we'll move back across to the slides because we're just going to move on to the next part. So I do have a slide there for manual posting and for automatic posting. Remember, automatic posting also takes into account that manual adjustment that was entered. Okay, so again, we don't need to worry about deducting adjustments from the figures there. Now, once you've done your transfer, could be down the line, you make your payment to or from HMRC or ROS, depending if you're in the UK or Ireland. And again, this is something that can be done manually or you can do within the VAT return. If you're going to do it manually, you're going to be looking at posting a bank payment or a bank receipt to the VAT liability nominal code to clear that balance down, which by default is 2202. What it doesn't do is it doesn't mark your VAT return as paid. Okay, so again, we've got the benefits of doing it within the VAT return. So if I just pop back to our initial demonstration data there. So if I wanted to do a bank payment for the amount owing, I could pop into bank accounts, do a bank payment, make sure the date was correct as of the date it's leaving our bank, nominal code 2202 for our VAT liability, and then the amount we're actually paying. Bear in mind your nominal code for VAT liability might be slightly different, but it is normally 2202 by default. And that will pay it for you, okay? That will mark it as paid in your account software. But again, if we look at the VAT return and pop into this part here, I have just jumped past submission. We'll come back to that in just a moment. We do have the option here to post bank payment. And what this is clever enough to do is it's clever enough to recognize that actually if it's not a payment we're making, we're actually receiving a refund, the wording will change to post bank receipt and it'll post a bank receipt for us. So all we need to do is pop in the date here. So again, if this was on the same day as my submission, pop in the amount there, post the bank payment, and it will basically post that transaction. Now, if you have done it manually via the bank module, you could come in here and just mark this as paid so that it sort of records that in your VAT listing. Now, what it won't do is it won't actually send that payment to HMRC. Okay, so this is a really common one we've had in the past where customers have clicked this button and it hasn't paid HMRC. It records the transaction in Sage, but it won't post the payment unless you're using things like supplier payments via modular, or you've got an e-payment file set up on there. Okay, so just bear that in mind, just to double check the files you're exporting to make sure it's including those payments. So I'm just going to click post bank payment. And again, at the click of a button, the only thing I needed to change was the date. And if we pop into our transactions list, you can see there at the bottom, the VAT payment has been posted. And also the 4 journals that were posted when we clicked to post the transfer. So it took care of all 4 of those journals at the click of one button. So that's essentially paying the return. So again, the slides just show you both options and the automatic option there, which helps to remove any potential errors there. Okay, so great opportunity now if you've got any questions to get them across, because we're just going to move on to our final topic of today, which is VAT submission. Now this does differ depending on whether you're in the UK or in the Republic of Ireland. So we are going to show you both of them, just in case we've got people joining us from both areas. Okay. So first of all, we'll start off with the UK. So in the UK, we're now making tax digital submissions. So VAT returns need to be submitted digitally to HMRC straight from your software. So previously you had the option to calculate in Sage, take those details and then log on to the gateway manually and enter them. So that has now changed. Now, if you've been submitting successfully for a few years, you shouldn't need to check this, but if you're new to doing VAT returns, you may just need to check that it is switched on in your software. So to do that, you need to go into Settings, Company Preferences, and Enable Making Tax Digital Submissions. And I will show you that now, just so you can find that. So you would need to go to Settings at the top, Company Preferences, pop in your password. And in this VAT tab here, you need to make sure you've got your VAT registration number entered and also tick to enable Making Tax Digital for VAT submissions. If that is ticked, it's going through the Making Tax Digital gateway for you. Pop back to the slides there. So basically what happens is when you do your VAT return, you then click to submit via the VAT return and it will connect to the gateway on your behalf. Now to demonstrate this properly, we do have a video that we're going to show you. It's around 2 minutes long, so it's not too long. What I will say is if you've been submitting for some time and it looks slightly different for yourself, please don't panic, okay? It will look slightly different if you've been using it for a while because you don't have to jump through as many hoops now. So I am just going to start this video. Like I say, it's 2 minutes long and then we'll come back and detail the Republic of Ireland return there for you.
In this demonstration, we're going to show you the steps to submit your VAT return online. We join the demonstration where we're on step 3 of the VAT return, so it's already been reconciled, and we're ready to submit it online. So on the right hand side, we click Submit Online. The online submission wizard appears, and you click Next. Ensure that the correct company name and VAT registration number appears, and then click Next. An authority page appears, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you can then click Continue. You're then prompted to sign in with your Government Gateway user ID and password. Once entered, click Sign In. You then click Grant Authority. You'll then be prompted to choose your period, and it should default to the correct one. Just make sure this is correct, and then select the checkbox to say that you agree to the following HMRC declaration, and then click Submit to HMRC. Once completed, a congratulations message appears, indicating you successfully submitted your VAT return to HMRC. You click Close. You then return to the VAT return, and as you can see, the VAT return is now flagged as being submitted.
Okay, so that was just a quick demonstration of a Making Tax Digital submission, which is only in the UK, and I'm sure you can probably understand it makes life much, much easier. Again, less room for transposition errors and mistakes when submitting your details. However, in the Republic of Ireland, it is slightly different. However, again, it does help you and assist you with avoiding errors because it is a file that you download. So rather than submit online in Republic of Ireland, what you get is the option to open the folder. So this folder contains an XML file. That is then able to be uploaded onto ROS. So there's no amendment to amounts or values, etc. The file can be downloaded and then uploaded direct to ROS. So click on Open Folder and you'll find the file within there. Once you've done that, you can tick the box to mark as submitted so that you can still use the VAT window to keep a track of your submissions and what's been transferred, what's been paid, and what has been completed. Okay, so I did say this would take up to half an hour today, so I'm just going to go through a summary. However, it is a great opportunity for you now to get your questions across to us. Don't forget again, tomorrow we're looking at VAT reports. If you're wanting to look at the session where we go through which reports to run and what figures you should be comparing, that session is at this time tomorrow, and that one does tend to last a little bit longer. You're looking up to 45 minutes for that one. So in summary, first of all, always make sure you've got a backup before you run into your VAT return. Just in case you do accidentally reconcile before you're ready, it's always good to have a point of return. The VAT transfer is used to transfer your sales and purchase tax control account values for that period onto your VAT liability, ready for you to then pay HMRC or ROS. Now, if you don't do these transfers, these nominal codes will just start to accumulate large balances, which when you run your trial balance may start to look a little bit odd. Now, you can backdate these transfers. Okay, so if you have forgotten to do them, you can backdate these transfers, no problem. If you use the wizards, then it does take a lot of the pain out of posting, but I am aware people are sort of familiar with how they do things and they like to just sort of stick to the norm. That's absolutely fine as well. You don't have to move on to the wizards if you wish to continue the way you're doing so at the moment. There's also the record payment or record receipt option within the VAT return, and that recognises whether it's a payment or a receipt that you should be posting. So in the UK, submissions are done under Making Tax Digital Submissions, which are direct from the software. So you can link up to your Government Gateway account. If you don't yet have a Government Gateway account, then you will need to log on to the HMRC website and register with them there. Finally, if you're in the Republic of Ireland, it is slightly different. You do need to download the XML file, which can then be uploaded directly to ROS. Okay, it's time for your questions. However, while you're popping your questions across, I am just going to briefly talk about the upcoming webinars and also additional support. So if you go to sage.co.uk/help, that will take you to our help centre. Within here, you can choose your software, and in here, you've got help with different areas of the software, one of which is Manage VAT. And within here, you can pick where you're located for specific guidance depending on your region. In addition, you can type into this box, or you can go to sage.co.uk/webinars, and that will take you to our webinars, which is our live webinars and our webinar recordings. So if you did miss yesterday's session, you can find it on this link here, which will also be in your follow-up email today. If I click on webinars for Sage accounts, what you'll see is what we've got coming up the rest of this week. So we've got the VAT session tomorrow. We also have version 31, where we're going to show you a little bit of Copilot, which is tomorrow morning. And on Thursday morning, our last one of the year is running year end. And that will be with myself as well. However, we've also got all of our January webinars advertised, and very shortly we will be launching our Banking Excellence badge. So that will be available very soon for you to register, which we're running early in February. So if you're looking for a digital badge, like what you saw in International Accounting Day, then we will be continuing that with our next badge. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's session. We are feeling like dying down towards the holiday break. The questions are few and far between, but I am still here. If you have any questions, we will leave the questions open for just another couple of moments, just in case you do have any. In the meantime, however, I will pop myself on mute, and I will be back with you just before we end the session. However, if you are leaving, thank you very much for joining us, and we do hope that we'll see you on another session really soon, if not this week, then in the new year. Like I said, we'll be back before we end the session though. Okay, exceptionally quiet today, so we will look to end the session there. So thank you again, everyone, for your time today. Again, we really do hope to see you on a session soon. Bye for now.